Hey everybody, welcome back to the Always Out of Market NFL podcast. I'm your host Steven. I'm joined by our resident Broncos fan Jason and our draft night crier Matthew, and that's it.
I did not cry this draft night.
You
I was
did?
gonna say Steven was the draft night crier, but it was the second night.
Yeah, I was day two draft night crier. For sure. So obviously, we haven't really done a podcast since draft night, but of course we're going to talk about that today. Talk about how we feel overall about our team, and then just in general about the draft. And then before that, we'll do news, and we're going to try to. We obviously took a break last week because obviously there was a lot going on with the draft, but we're going to go back to our weekly recordings, hopefully starting this week. So,
Yes, sir.
Jason, you want to pick where we start with news?
Yeah. So, one of the biggest things that happened right around the draft that I feel like didn't get a whole lot of attention because of the draft going on and everything. It was Roger Goodell is in his last year of his contract as commissioner, and
Didn't know that.
he publicly acknowledged the fact that this could have been his last draft. So, how do you guys feel about that before I say what I have to say?
I didn't even hear anything about that.
I mean, who the hell would replace him is the question.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think they like him too much. I think they're gonna find a way to extend him.
Do you know how long he's been commissioner?
No, but it's been a long time.
I know it's been a long time, but I'll look it up to
I'm
find
looking
out
it up right
exactly.
now. I got you.
Because I have no idea how long it's been, but it's been longer than I've been watching football. So
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can remember, it's been him announcing, giving all those big ass players bear hugs. Amazing he has a spine at this point.
Yeah.
It says he's been commissioner since 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a long time.
With the direction the NFL is going, I would not be opposed to him not coming back, but I would be afraid of what somebody new would do.
That's what I was about to say. There's no telling who comes in, and they could fuck it up completely.
Yeah, so as much as I don't like what he's done with the NFL, I hope they find a way to extend him for at least 5 years, maybe.
Which it's not all him making some of the bad decisions. A bunch of it's health protocols and everything like that. But
yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
He does have to basically sign it off, though. Like he is the guy to do that. So,
yeah, but I'm sure he's been put in some ultimatums. It's like you either do this, or your business is going to start going downhill because it is still a business.
Of course, yeah. But I mean that's huge. I didn't even see that in our news, but that's
yeah. See, yeah. It got covered up with the draft going on, so it didn't really get a whole lot of coverage at all.
I definitely think I'm also in agreement that they just need to find a way to extend them, because I feel like changing the status quo with that would really that would be a big change.
The NFL is targeting May 11th, which is 4 days from when we're recording this, for the schedule release for the next season. So
we are not meeting up to do that. I just
no.
We said it several times as a joke on the draft spectacular. We're not doing that. We're just
live schedule release spectacular.
Oh yeah, that'd be a very exciting 5 minutes, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're hopefully within the next week we should know the schedules. So we'll get to see all the games for the international games in Germany, and I don't think they're doing one in Mexico again. I think it's just Germany and London this year.
I haven't heard anything about Mexico, but
so we'll see who's playing over there. We already know what the quote unquote home teams are, but we don't know their opponents yet. So But to see how many really bad games we'll see on Thursday Night Football this year.
Yeah.
We're going to see a whole lot more New York Jets than we've seen in past years.
Oh, absolutely. With Aaron Rodgers getting traded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
I'm
Jets
kind
are
of-
about to be the Broncos of last season.
You know what? I don't even think I think we recorded before he got traded, and then we haven't recorded since. We had the draft. So I don't even know if we actually talked about Aaron Rodgers getting traded.
I don't think we did. I think you're right. Yeah. The problem is, like, so many things happened last minute right before the draft.
Yeah.
But then looking at it, and that was one thing I was going to address once we kind of got into it, but there was not a whole lot of player trades during the actual draft. It was all pretty
No,
much
there wasn't.
beforehand.
I don't
So-
think there was any player trades.
If there weren't any like major players. It was
Yeah,
more
I think it was all pick swaps.
Yeah. So, but yes, yeah. Aaron Rodgers is now officially a Jet. Congratulations to him. It was a long wait, but I guess they finally figured out the
Yep.
the
They
trade.
are turning into the New York Packers because
Yep.
they also signed Randall Cobb.
And Lazard too.
And
So-
they got the coach. I can't think of what his name is.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't forget that name.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Whoops. But he's good as an offensive coordinator, so I'm sure they'll.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's great as an offensive coordinator. He is
Yeah.
not a good head coach at all.
I'm
So,
curious to see what he'll do with those guys. They've
I
got a lot of
found this
great-
out through Gavin. He told me this. Apparently, when Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator at the Packers, he wasn't even calling the plays. It was LaFleur calling all the plays. So he was just kind of there. So we don't really know how good of an offensive coordinator he is.
I guess
Well,
we'll find out.
They also have the greatest passing game coordinator of all time there now, Todd Downing. So
Oh yeah,
people keep forgetting about that, but
yeah.
So how do you think the Jets will actually do next season? Because I mean, Aaron Rodgers seems like he's happier in New York than
he looked so happy in his opening press conference. Like he looked genuinely happy to be there. I think he's going to play well. I just don't know if I just don't know if I think he can do well enough in that division.
it's
That's
going to be a good
tough
8-9
division.
season.
That's a tough division to be in right there.
He wanted out of Green Bay so bad for the fact that they wouldn't draft him or get him any weapons, but then he leaves to go to the Jets and asks for the exact same weapons he had at the Packers.
Well, but he also still has the new weapons. Like I feel like he also went there because he liked some of their new rookies are pretty good.
Well, yes, yeah,
so-
but it's the fact that he was like, he's openly shit on his receivers in interviews, and then he's like, give me these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. That does seem kind of counter what he actually really wanted, but I guess there's a level of familiarity that he wants.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like,
say I think it's just that he already has chemistry with those guys, so he doesn't want to go to a team where he's playing with only people he's never played with. He wants to have some kind of chemistry with somebody on the field.
Yeah, well, I understand the Randall Cobb one because he's played with Randall Cobb for like 10 years or something, but the Allen Lazard one kind of threw me off because I was like, he's been pretty open about these new guys that are not up to his standard of what he wants, and then he's like, yeah, let me get Allen Lazard again.
Hey, he bonded with Lazard because they were playing tag and shit together. So
I was gonna ask how do you feel about losing Alan Lazard? I think we talked about it, but I don't remember what you said.
It's he was good. He's a good like third down receiver. He's came in clutch a few times, but he's not the like standout guy that a lot of people saw him as on the Packers. So I'm not too mad about it. We got these couple of rookies that we just drafted. We got some young guys. I'm excited to see how the offense does this year. I saw a thing about the Packers have by far the youngest offense in the league, skill position wise, because all our wide receiver core and quarterback, the average age is 23. So it should be a good adjustment, but I'm a little nervous about it.
You'll get to see what your future could look like, basically.
Yeah. Which
Packers are going to look so different.
it really is. It's going to be weird seeing somebody not named Aaron Rodgers starting at quarterback.
So when are you going to get a Jordan Love jersey?
When he wins us a Super Bowl next year.
All right.
Oh,
You heard it here first. Packers winning the Super Bowl this year.
I've said it before. I do actually believe Jordan Love will be good. He's had plenty of time to develop. The times that we have seen him come into play, he's looked good, so I think he'll be all right. I mean, he may get a little bit of the culture shock. Well, maybe not culture shock is the right word. Just a little bit of an adjustment period where he might struggle a little bit, but I still think he'll play well. So
yeah. I mean, I don't expect anything crazy from him this coming up season because it'll be his first season starting. But after this season, and that's true. You never know. He could come out and just ball out. But
I still think, me personally, I think the NFC is a little bit easier at this point, just with all the moves or all the main players that we think of now are mostly on the AFC side. I mean, NFC does have the Packers and has the 49ers and certain other ones, Eagles. But I still think there's enough room there for the Packers to still find a way into the playoffs.
I think so.
I could definitely see you guys getting a wild card spot this year.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Is maybe
like we said in our last when we actually recorded when it was just the three of us again. I think we were all pretty much in agreement that the Lions are going to wind up winning that division, but I can definitely see the Packers getting a wild card spot.
Mm-hmm. The Lions have a really good team, but they're also in the same situation as we are. They're all really young, so it's still kind of a toss up how they're going to work as a team. I know that last year they did really good, but it's still the Lions. So,
well, speaking of the Lions, there was a report that came out saying that they are potentially looking to extend Jared Goff's contract within the next 15 months or so. So apparently they think Jared Goff is their long-term answer, which last year he had a pretty good year. So I guess if he can keep that up, I guess that's fine. But I mean, before this last season, I really didn't feel like he was that guy. So
yeah,
I don't know either. I feel like they could. The Lions' offense it's promising, especially watching them this last year. Their coach has got he's building something. He definitely is. I just don't know if Goff is the right fit long term, and I don't know really if I don't think they drafted the right quarterback for what they need either, but they didn't really have an option at that point. But
we're gonna hang out in this same division. Talk about Dalvin Cook potentially being traded or cut from the Vikings.
What are the Vikings doing?
I know it blows my mind.
Yeah,
what are they doing? They lost Thielen to the Panthers.
Yep.
I think. Isn't that right? Yeah, he went to the Panthers.
Yeah.
And now they're losing him too. It's like, come on, what are you?
That we don't know if they're going to lose Dalvin Cook, but
all signs are pointing to it.
Yeah, right now the betting odds, if you even want to call them that, for his landing spot, the top three are the Dolphins, the Vikings, and the Broncos. I don't see the Broncos getting him. So I personally, coming from a Broncos fan, I would go ahead and mark them off the list. I don't think we're going to get him. So really, there's been a lot of ties to the Dolphins so far, and then him just staying on the Vikings. Either one of those seems to be most likely at this point.
But didn't Dalvin Cook go to Florida State?
I could not tell you.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. So that's just another tie to Florida. But I could see the Dolphins going out and getting them. They've been McDaniel. He's been really adamant about going out and getting all these big name players, which I don't know why every other coach doesn't take a page out of that book. But
to answer your question, yes, he went to Florida State.
Yeah,
I looked it up too.
Yeah. I will say this: if they get Dalvin Cook, the Dolphins, they're going to be something serious next year. That defense is insane, and then all they really need on offense is a solid running back.
Yeah, they do have one of the best built teams right now in the league. I feel like
by far.
I feel like the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the 49ers. Those are the four horsemen of the NFL right now.
The Dolphins, they just got to keep Tua healthy, whatever it is.
I was going to say. They've got to work on that offensive line. That's the one thing that they really are lacking.
Did they? I'll answer my own question while y'all talk.
You're about to look up who the Dolphins drafted because I do not know. I don't really.
I know that in round 2 they drafted a corner with their first pick. So I don't know why, but
let's see.
I guess because there were a lot of good corners in this draft. Like that was one of the big positions that most people were talking about the corners and the tight ends in this draft. So
the Dolphins did draft a running back and a fairly decent one in my opinion. At that, they drafted Devin Achane
from Texas A&M. Yeah,
that dude is so incredibly fast on the field. If he gets free, he is gone.
Yeah.
They drafted a tackle in the 7th round. So I mean,
this just goes back to what I said about that's a tough division over there, whole AFC East. So
yeah, I'm not a big fan of their draft this season, other than A-Chain. To be honest with you, I'm not impressed.
See, but you got to think they've been making a lot of moves in free agency. So
yeah, that's where they have definitely shined. They did not shine in the draft, in my opinion, because they didn't need a corner. I don't know why they picked a corner first. I don't know what else they would have drafted with that, because obviously they got a running back in round 3, so they didn't need to do it then. I don't know what they were going for there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they'll still be good. They'll still be good if they can keep Tua healthy. That's the big thing. Because they were contenders until Tua was out, and then they were just, I don't know. they fell off hard.
Yeah. See, then I got the Broncos picked up Jerry Jeudy's 5th-year option. So he'll be on our team next year. I'm very happy about that.
Damn it. I was really hoping that option would get picked up. I was really hoping.
And then also with the Broncos, they invited the XFL's leading rusher to minicamp.
There's been a bunch of XFL players getting invited to camps.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few. I think we also invited a quarterback. I don't remember who it was, but we invited a quarterback. This running back, Jacques Patrick. I've seen a lot of people getting invites to the mini camps from the XFL.
Was it Ben DiNucci?
Yep, that was it.
Well, I mean, that's a good sign because, like, that's the thing is you kind of worry with XFL and USFL that, like, that's just a place for these guys to kind of just finish out their career and just let it die out. But it sounds like this is actually a good opportunity for them. Like, they're actually
I see the XFL as more of like a gateway for guys who they weren't quite ready for the NFL yet, so they had to go down to a smaller league and really like hone everything that they had. And then now if they do excel at the XFL, they have a bridge to get to the NFL.
But yeah, I know that's the point. That's what I was just worried that wasn't going to be the case for a lot of people, but it seems that it is.
I think that it's a two-way bridge. I think you'll have guys that come up to the NFL. I don't think you'll have guys that'll drop out of the NFL.
Definitely.
I think it's a two-way bridge, which is fine. It's great. I love more football. Don't get me wrong. So, more football is always nice.
XFL is a little weird though. Some of those.
The different rules and stuff like that. It's definitely a different flavor.
Yeah.
But I'm here for it though. I mean, It can still be entertaining.
Well, congrats on Judy though, for real. Like,
I'm very happy with it.
that's
I
gotta
was
be a
worried.
big sigh of relief for sure.
Yeah. But that being said, I am worried that Cortland Sutton's going to get traded after this season. So
That would suck.
That was
Unless he
another
comes to the
one.
Packers.
Then that would be great, right?
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton has so much potential.
Oh, 100%.
I'm really hoping Russell Wilson turns it around this year and those two can just lock on with each other. I would be so happy.
I see Russell Wilson turning around some this season. I think it was just a big adjustment to have to go all the way to Denver, but I think
That
he
that
will turn
and
around
the
somewhat
head
this
coach.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sean Payton's gonna slap his wrist a few times if he doesn't get it together.
Sean Payton will bench his ass.
Oh yeah, no, he won't even think twice.
Oh man, yeah, I'm excited to see the Broncos this next year. I'm ready for a comeback. I really
Yeah,
am.
me too. We can move on from the Broncos for now. I'll get back into it when we get back to recapping our drafts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the Titans a little bit.
I mean, we don't have to.
Well,
ahead.
apparently there are rumors that the Titans could be looking to get Gabe Davis
Yep.
because the
that
Bills
would
are
be good.
they're already set to be over their salary cap next season, and Gabe Davis will be on his last year of his contract. So there
That'd be a
are
solid
rumors.
pickup.
Yeah, there are rumors that the Titans would be a team to go after him very hard to try and get him.
I would be fine with that. 100%.
Yeah, I think that would be a great pickup for
I
y'all.
am desperate. But he's actually, I mean, he's great. So it's not like we're just getting the bottom of the barrel on that one. So that's the other.
I would love to see the Will Levis to Gabe Davis connection.
Wonder what that'll look like. And we'll get into the Levis news later.
A bunch of overthrown balls and interceptions.
The next thing I got on here is the Giants and Dexter Lawrence reached a 4-year, $90 million extension, including $60 million guaranteed.
Yep.
So
highest paid defensive lineman in the league.
Yep, well deserved. He's a monster.
That's insane. These guys are making some serious bank these days.
They are. It feels like every new contract, it seems like it's like the highest paid player.
Yeah, every single one is record breaking. That's the other thing. Like everyone was talking about Jalen Hurts being like the highest paid. Once Burrow and those guys are up for their contracts, there's no telling how much those guys are going to make.
Joe Burrow will be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
He has to be. There's no way
sure.
he isn't.
The Bengals are going to give him $500 million.
Fully guaranteed. And that's just for one season. We'll cover, this is technically draft news, but it's that the first player to sign their contract that was drafted was Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Signed a 4-year, $21.8 million deal, fully guaranteed with the Eagles.
Damn, that's nice.
Yeah, your first contract in the NFL fully guaranteed. Sign me up. I feel like that's something you don't see ever.
No.
That's the thing is I wish we talked about it before that I've never really paid enough attention to the rookie contracts and exactly how they work, but that sure seems like that's not the normal right there. So
yeah. The last non-draft bullet point that I have, and then we can hop into all the draft stuff, is Micah Parsons is going to swap to being a defensive end instead of a linebacker. So he's going to bulk up this offseason, get bigger, and swap to defensive end for the Cowboys.
His stats are about to take a toll.
I'm interested to see how that works out for him.
I don't know why you would. That just seems like fixing something that wasn't broken.
one of the best linebackers in the league and be like, swap positions.
Especially, like, remember, before Bosa fucking popped off in the second half of the season, everyone was talking about Micah Parsons for Defensive Player of the Year. And then now you're going to move him into a different position? That just doesn't seem smart to me. So
I think it's just him wanting to be a defensive end.
It might be.
I don't think it's anything to do with the Cowboys wanting him to swap positions. I think it's just him wanting to get bigger and be on the line.
It could work out. I mean, if it does, if he decides that I don't know how much he's going to try and bulk up, but he could be a monster at defensive end. But with how fast he is, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it just really depends.
And that's something you got to worry about too. Is if he gets bigger, it's going to slow him down. So he's not gonna have that advantage of jumping off the line as quick as he was this past season if he gets bigger. So I mean, it'll just be something to watch. I'm excited to see how he does because I mean, like we said, he's one of the best linebackers in the league, or was one of the best linebackers in the league. So I mean, I feel like he may have hurt himself on his payday. But, you know.
Hey, if he wants to do it, I guess. I didn't realize that it was like his decision sort of thing, if it was. Because, it doesn't really specify that in the news, but, I mean, surely the Cowboys wouldn't make that decision, because that just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't think the Cowboys asked him to do that. If anything, they probably asked him not to.
Yeah. You know, thinking about it, there's not really very many position swaps in the NFL.
The last one I can think of is Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like once you're in the NFL, you're pretty much locked into whatever position you're playing. Well, you might see some offensive linemen move between like tackle and guard, and that's definitely going to be happening probably on the Titans. So. But other than that, like, especially on the defensive side, you don't really see a lot of movements, I don't think.
That was it for the news. So we can hop into talking about the draft if you guys don't have anything else.
Who would we like to start with of our teams?
I think we should let the Titans go.
So, according to analysts, the Titans drafted quite well. You ask any of the fans, anybody inside the Titans, like, atmosphere, I guess you could say. No one's happy with what happened. So, first off, I want to say draft night, we did the draft spectacular. I was very happy that night. We had our first round pick. We stayed at 11. I was very worried that we were going to draft down and not get one of the big players. I'm glad they didn't do that. I was worried that we would draft up, and if we were drafting up for like a quarterback that was available, if it was CJ Stroud, for example, I would have been happy. But of course, he went to the Texans, and the Texans just fucking went crazy.
I can hear the pain in his voice trying to talk about the quarterback situation.
Yeah. So, of course, I loved their first round pick. So, obviously, where is it? There it is. So, round 1, pick number 11, the Titans selected Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. He's great. A lot of people were worried about the size of his arms, which is why a lot of people are thinking in the NFL, instead of playing like left tackle, he'll probably be like left guard, which is fine. I think we're going to pretty much, for the Titans, is going to be between Andre Dillard, who just came over from the Eagles. He, of course, was the backup for the Eagles. He initially was the starter and then got hurt and then just never went back out because I guess the replacement was better. I don't remember who it is. So I think it's going to be between Dillard and Skoronski fighting for that left tackle position. One of them will get it. The other one will be the guard. But I was very happy with it. You look at the guy, he looks perfect for the type of offensive lineman that the Titans like. He gives off Vrabel vibes when you look at him, like the type of player that Mike Vrabel would want. Now, round 2, on the other hand, things went a little off the rails. So obviously we weren't together for the draft spectacular that night because we just did it for round one. But the Titans were supposed to pick at 40 something, 41, 42, something like that. They moved up to 33, trading with, I think, the Cardinals. And they selected the man, the myth, the legend, Will Levis.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a few minutes before we started the actual podcast, but they apparently were trying to get him. Like they were trying to trade up into the first round, like at the very tail end of the first round. But apparently, everybody wanted to get something at those levels, and I'm glad that's the case because I really don't even know if they had to move up at all. If they really wanted Will Levis, they could have stayed at the 40s, 41, 42, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And probably gotten Levis because I just don't think any of the other teams would have gone for him. Unless the Detroit Lions got him, because of course they took Hooker. But at least I will say, at least they didn't give up a ton of shit for Will Levis. The thing I was really afraid of was them moving up to pick 4 or 5 in round one and get Will Levis, giving up first round picks and all that sort of shit. They didn't do any of that. They gave up, I think if I remember correctly, they gave up, they basically switched picks in the 3rd round or something with the Cardinals. And then they gave him a 3rd rounder in next year and then something else, like a late round. So they didn't really give up, they didn't give up first round picks for him. If they had done that, I would have been furious. So I'm really hoping, a lot of people are saying Will Levis might be a diamond in the rough. I don't see it. We've been talking about it for a while. None of us see it either. We obviously have the SEC mindset because we all watch SEC football. And when he wasn't even in the top, 5 SEC quarterbacks, it's not that appealing to get him in the first round. So at least they got him in the second round. I still didn't really want him though. And I'm really hoping we get 2021 Will Levis and not 2022 Will Levis because he looked real bad. I mean, he still threw a bunch of interceptions in 2021, but at least he played well and Kentucky was a lot better. This last year, I think they had a new offensive coordinator, if I remember correctly. They had a bad offensive line, so that probably didn't help him. But I'm still worried that you can't coach decision making. And looking at some of the decision making he made of throws that he shouldn't have definitely not thrown, that's what I'm worried about. So that's pretty much all I got to say for Will Levis. Feel free to throw anything in here, guys. I don't want to take over with all this.
No, man, this is your team. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about what you guys drafted.
Yeah. And then I forgot to pull up Tyler's thing. Tyler, of course, isn't here, but he did give me. He was happy with Skronsky as well. He doesn't understand the Levis pick, but hopefully it works out. That's kind of how I feel too. I'm not happy with it.
I think it's hilarious that y'all pick Will Levis just for the fact of how much Tyler shit on Will Levis the whole season.
And I know, and that's the problem, is I remember at one point, it probably isn't on a recording, we talked about it earlier in the season, he shit on Will Levis so much last year, and I'm like, Tyler, the way we're going to get fucked and get Will Levis. What are you doing? And now that's what's happened. So, like I said, hopefully he works out. A lot of people are saying that, maybe he'll work in the Titans system if they can get their offensive line figured out, which they did make some good moves in free agency and in the draft for the offensive line. So I'm really hoping that works out. But, it's like I've said that it's too late now. He's on our team. So I might as well hope for the best. There's a lot of people.
Do you know what number he's going to wear?
I don't remember if they said.
Oh.
I think he wore 7 at Kentucky, I think. I don't know if he's going to wear 7.
I don't know. The Packers they released all of the rookie numbers the day that they got drafted. So
I don't know. Somebody want to look that up while I'm doing other
I
things. But
got you.
I sent you a link in our Discord.
But all right, while it's loading, I'll go ahead and say I'm also not super happy. I don't really understand their round 3 pick. So just like good old Matthew here, which I'm sure he'll get into it when it's his turn. I also wanted wide receivers. We don't have a good wide receiver room. So they didn't take a wide receiver in round 1 or 2, and they didn't take one in round 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Okay, they took a wide receiver in round 7, so we'll get there. But at round 3, they chose, and to be fair, he looked great in like the Senior Bowl and stuff, and I think that's what's helped his draft stock. They took Tyjae Spears, the running back out of Tulane. He looked good. I don't remember what the game was, whatever bowl game they were in. He played real well in. But one thing, let's talk about what was the downfall of the Titans last year, guys. Y'all remember specifically?
Tyler saying that they were going to win the Super Bowl.
No, but ignoring Tyler, what was the biggest problem? Jason's team also had this problem. Injuries. And they drafted a dude that does not have an ACL anymore.
Oh.
Like, they talked about it, like, he's got, like, arthritis in his knees, and his ACL is basically completely gone. And I'm just worried, like, as a running back, especially in a system like the Titans play, the running backs for the Titans are typically, run through, bulldoze through things because of Derrick Henry. If they run Tyjae Spears, they're gonna have to do him. They're gonna have to use him more as like a wide, like running wide type route, and I think they're gonna probably try to do like screens, like throwing to him some too. They talked about it in the press conference. They see him as an every running back or every down running back, like first, second, third.
Yeah.
Which obviously, like you look at what they did with Derrick Henry, they run him on first, they run him on second, and they try to pass on third, and then they punt on fourth. So having somebody that can actually catch on third down would be nice. I just don't know if Tyjae Spears was the right pick, and I don't necessarily think they had to use a third rounder to get him. I think he probably was more of a fourth or fifth for a lot of teams. But, overall, I'll still take it. And I'm just like, I sure hope they're not wanting to replace Derrick Henry with Tyjae Spears, because that is not, I don't think that's the ideal situation right there. Let me see what Tyler said. Yeah, he said Tyjae Spears' tape looks good, concerned about the ACL stuff. So basically what I said. Next up, we got Josh Wiley, a tight end out of Cincinnati. They drafted him in round 5 because they didn't have a round 4. He's good. I'm fine with him. A little bit that I've watched of his tape, he looked good. I don't really have much else to say about him. And then round 6, they chose Jalen Duncan, an offensive tackle out of Maryland. Sure. I mean, we need offensive line, but again, not a fucking wide receiver. So, still not happy at that point. There were still wide receivers available at round 5 and 6 and 3, but you didn't do it. If you really wanted to get Skronsky and then Levis, that's fine, but why didn't you do something in the 3rd round? And then round 7, they finally get a wide receiver. Colton Dowell, wide receiver out of UT Martin. Yeah.
He'll make the team because you don't have any wide receivers to take him out, so.
Well, that's the thing is right now it looks like our wide receiver 1 is going to be Treylon Burks. Our wide receiver 2 is going to be Nick Westbrook-Akine. And our wide receiver 3 is going to be Chris Moore. So I think that's what our team's going to be. So, maybe he'll fight for a spot. Maybe he'll be good. But it almost seemed like, obviously, the Titans fans, you've got the Titans fans that are that are Bama fans because of following with Derrick Henry. Then you've also got a lot of Volunteers and Vanderbilt fans. It almost feels like Vrabel, everyone was complaining like, hey, why aren't we taking a wide receiver? It almost felt like Vrabel was like, fuck you, here, we'll get a wide receiver. And it's going to be the guy that dialed up Tennessee in that one game, I guess. For whatever reason, this guy apparently played really well when he played against big schools. So they think that he could be a diamond in the rough. But regardless, I just don't like the pick. I think it's too late to get a wide receiver at that point. But like I've said earlier with Will Levis, it is what it is. I have to accept what we have and just hope for the best. So, all right, I'm done. I don't want to talk anymore.
Overall, what would you rate your guys' draft? Like, where would you put it on a tier list?
I give it a C, I guess. I'll say it's a C just because I think Skoronski and Josh Wiley were good picks.
Yeah.
And then I am happy they at least got a couple offensive linemen because that was our real problem. Offensive line is always good. That's the thing is, offensive line is not a sexy kind of pick. It's nothing that you're really going to go, screaming about as excited, but they're fundamental for building a good football team. So, and then Will Levis, if they had taken Will Levis in the first round, if they had drafted up from the second all the way into the very end of the first and given up first round capital, this would be an F. Like, that would be a straight up F. But I'm gonna say it's a kind of a mid C just because they at least got him in the second round, so they didn't give up so much. And he, maybe he's a high risk, high reward kind of player. Who knows?
Yeah, you just gotta look at the upsides.
Yeah. So I tell you what though, I don't care if he wins us a Super Bowl. I'm not putting mayo in my fucking coffee. I'm not doing it.
Yes,
But
you will. If he wins y'all the Super Bowl, you better.
You also have to eat a banana with the peel on.
Golly. Yeah. So he's a weird guy, but maybe he'll work out. And people are saying that he could be kind of a new version of Tannehill, which if he's a young Tannehill, sure, that could be good. But I hope it's not Tannehill like he's been the last couple years. So. All right, somebody else go.
I will. I guess I'll go next. I've got all of these pulled up right here. Starting off, obviously wanted a wide receiver in the first round. I was a little hard on the guy that we took.
He's good. Like we told you in the spectacular, he's good. It's just I know he's not the pick you wanted.
It's not even that. It's just I don't. There were so many options, but I mean, looking at his tape, he seems all right. They call him Hercules. He's massive. But Lucas Van Ness in the first round. Like I said, I was a little hard on him just because I was fully expecting JSN to come to the Packers, but nothing ever really works out that way. I'm gonna second round. I'm gonna just go ahead and skip past him. I talked about him enough on draft night that I was pissed off. But second round, we took a tight end out of Oregon State, Luke Musgrave. Looking at his stuff, he'll be a pretty solid addition. We did just lose Robert Tunyon, so we got to have somebody fill that spot, and we got two of them to fill that spot because for some reason we wanted two tight ends in this draft. But
well, it's because like what I said, this was a big tight end draft that people were saying, so there was going to be lots of chances to get somebody. So
yeah, well, we took two of those chances. So
yeah, oh yeah.
Anyway, I will say, very happy with our second round pick, wide receiver out of Michigan State, Jaden Reed. He's a little undersized. I think he's 5'10", but he will make a great slot receiver, and he's quick. I think he ran a 4.5 40 somewhere around there. So he's gonna be a very solid addition. I'm super shocked that they took a wide receiver in the second round after not going in the first. I was like, I guess they just figured that they weren't going to take a wide receiver until way later. But I was happy with it. Going back to the tight ends, our first third round pick, Tucker Kraft out of South Dakota State, tight end. I didn't do any real research on him just because I was like, why in the world did we take another tight end? Me and Jason were in we were doing something. We were talking, and as the draft was going on, and I was like, we just took another tight end, and he could just hear hear the disappointment.
Hey, he was audibly upset.
I mean, it does seem weird to go after 2 tight ends. Yeah.
Not even just going after 2 tight ends. It was 2 in back-to-back rounds. I didn't get I don't know the move that they were really going for, but I mean, maybe they're going to try and run it. We did our other tight end. I'm blanking on his name right now. Big blocking tight end, but he's old. I really wish I could remember his name. It's going to bug me. Anyway, we're going to have to replace him sometime soon.
I can't tell with Luke Musgrave based on the picture, but it doesn't look like either of these guys are really blocking tight ends, are they?
No, I think that they're both receiving tight ends. They both look more of the Travis Kelce type build. But
yeah, that's what I was thinking too, looking at them. So
anyway, I'll go ahead and move on. 4th round pick, we took Colby Wooden out of Auburn, little Alabama boy for the Packers. Once again, I didn't do much research on the guys outside of the top 2-3 picks that we had, but anyway, I mean, Auburn guy. I'm not mad to see him. Then this pick kind of shocked me.
I wanted to hear what you thought about this one.
I'm honestly not mad about it, just for the fact of if Jordan Love does go down with injury, Sean Clifford is a pretty decent quarterback. So I was not mad about it at all. I'm glad that we didn't take somebody earlier than the 5th round to be a backup quarterback, because I would have been pretty upset about that. But taking a quarterback in the 5th round that back up Jordan Love, I'm not going to complain, especially when it's somebody like Sean Clifford. I mean, they had plenty of success at Penn State. So
yeah,
we took a wide receiver out of Virginia, something that the Titans could have had, but
they sure could have.
Dontavion Wicks. I've watched a little bit of his tape. I remember I've heard the name, so I went and looked him up. He's pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, all of our wide receivers are going to be super young this year, so any guy is going to have a chance to step up and make a spot on our starting roster. So I'm excited to see how all these young guys play out. Go ahead and go on to the next one. I don't want to spend too much time on one certain guy, but next we got a D lineman out of Bowling Green, Carl Brooks. I had never once heard of this guy, but Packers have tended to do that over the past couple of years, getting random guys out of schools that you've never heard their name, and then they turn out to be solid. So Kenny Clark in particular is who I was referring to. But yeah, don't have too much to say about this guy. Then another guy out of Auburn, Anders Carlson, kicker. Was shocked to see a kicker go in the 6th round. It's weird to see kickers getting drafted for some reason. I know that the kickers are still people too, but I wasn't too happy about the Carlson pick though, because he has had some struggles at Auburn with missing extra points. But I mean, who knows? A lot of his brother kills it at the Raiders, so maybe we'll have a little success with him. Mason Crosby's getting super old, so hopefully he'll be able to step up and win us some games, possibly. And then on to our 7th round picks. I think we have 4 of them. I'm just going to go through them real quick. Carrington Valentine out of Kentucky, corner. Always need depth at the secondary. Our secondary has been lacking over the past few years. Outside of Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes. Running back Lou Nichols out of Central Michigan. Once again, never heard of this guy. Hopefully he'll be something solid, but we have one of the best running back duos in the league, so I don't really understand what the point of drafting another running back would be, but maybe they see some potential in him. Anthony Johnson Jr., safety out of Iowa State. Once again, solid. Looks solid on tape. Don't really know too much about him, but once again, always needing depth in the secondary. with how injury prone our guys have been. And one more, Grant DuBose out of Charlotte, another wide receiver in the 7th round with our final pick. So that out of overall, I'm pretty happy about the draft. All in all, we filled all of our team needs and some. So I'd say I'd give it a B plus on everything said. Like there's some that I'm not too happy about, taking double tight ends and not taking a wide receiver in the first round. Outside of that, though, we've got plenty of receivers outside of the first round, so I can't be too mad about it. We'll see how it plays out in the future.
All right.
All right. Yeah. My section is going to be a lot shorter than everybody else's because we have so much fewer picks. So, if you have kept up with the NFL at all and listened to our podcast, you know that the Broncos did not have a first or second round pick this year, thanks to the trade with the Seahawks going with Russell Wilson to the Broncos and all that. That being said, our first pick still managed to come in round 2. We traded up into round 2, and we drafted a wide receiver out of Oklahoma, Marvin Mims Jr. And I have nice little bullet points. I have one bullet point for each of our guys that we drafted. So for Marvin Mims Jr., Sean Payton said in a press conference after we drafted that night that he believed there were only 2 elite kick returners in this entire class, and Marvin Mims was one of them. Last year, we had one of the worst units on special team. We lost a decent amount of fumbles on kick returns and punt returns. So Marvin Mims is definitely going to wind up being that guy more than likely. But he also has a chance to just make it on the team to be a wide receiver. He's actually pretty good. I've watched some of his tape, and I think he may have a chance to move Tim Patrick out of being wide receiver 3.
I'm gonna say y'all don't have a whole lot of competition. It's like y'all don't have very many wide receivers on the roster in general. It seems like, and especially if Courtland Sutton's gonna get drafted or traded, possibly. Somebody's gonna have to step up.
Well, right now, so we have Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Those are definitely wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
After that, we have Tim Patrick, who's slated for wide receiver 3 right now. And then we have KJ Hamler and Marvin Mims, Marquez Callaway, and Kendall Hinton. Those are our guys. That being said, I've seen a lot of people saying Marvin Mims is going to move Tim Patrick out, then Tim Patrick moves KJ Hamler out, and then KJ Hamler's just gone. So,
which I don't really understand that because KJ Hamler's solid, but
yeah, it's just there's a lot. We have a lot of wide receivers on our team right now. I'm sitting here looking. We have currently on our roster 13 wide receivers.
Wow. Take back what I said.
That being said, we have like Jalen Virgil, Brandon Johnson, Dallas Daniels, Taylor Grimes, Lil Jordan Humphrey. Those guys, they're going to come in if somebody gets hurt. That's the only way they're going to get playing time. So, I'm happy with that pick. I'm assuming somebody wanted him, and that's why we drafted or traded up. Because we had 2 of the first 5 picks in round 3, and we traded up to round 2 and got the next to last pick in round 2. So we only traded up like 5 spots. So I'm assuming somebody was going to take him if we didn't. So I mean, it's whatever. And then the pick I'm most excited for came in round 3, pick 67, linebacker out of Arkansas, Drew Sanders. He is going to be a very solid addition to our team. He had 103 tackles last year, 9.5 sacks, 13.5 tackles for loss, and was graded as the second best linebacker in this year's draft. And we managed to get him in round 3. I don't know how that happened, but I'm not going to complain. I'm sitting here looking at the depth chart. He's not going to be a starter more than likely. We have Alex Singleton, Randy Gregory, Josie Jewell, Baron Browning. Those are our linebackers. But he will be a very solid backup guy when somebody just needs a break. Our next pick, we traded up for as well. Round 3, pick 83. We got a corner out of Iowa, Riley Moss. I don't know why we traded up for this pick. He was the 17th ranked corner in the draft. And I know there were not 16 corners taken before him. He didn't have a lot of playing time at Iowa. He managed to get 11 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and he scored 3 defensive touchdowns in his entire career.
I think you traded back actually.
Did we?
Yeah, I think you traded back and then got Moss when you finally got to your pick.
Maybe we did. I honestly couldn't remember. I thought we traded up for him, but we may have traded back. Either way, I have questions about this pick. I'm not really sure why we felt like we needed to get him. I mean, looking at the depth chart again. Actually, that's one position we're actually short on. We have Pat Surtain, obviously, and then we have Damari Mathis. Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's gonna wind up playing at this point unless we sign somebody. I'm worried about what he'll be able to actually do. Then we have round 6. We did not have a pick in round 4 or 5. We drafted a safety out of Boise State, J.L. Skinner. I actually found out he apparently was projected to be a 3rd-round pick, but apparently he had a pectoral injury that ruined his draft stock. And George Payton said they drafted him. They like his size and the athletic ability he has as a combo. I'm not really. I actually don't know why we drafted him. We have a lot of depth at safety. So I'm wondering if they're going to try and swap him over to be corner maybe and have him as a backup corner. I mean, overall, I'm okay with it. I'll always take some more depth on defense. Especially with a defense as good as we have, which is very odd that we picked 5 players in this draft, and 3 of them were on defense, 2 on offense. It's a little odd to me that we're trying to bulk up our defense even more, even though we had one of the best defenses in the league last year, and we lost, I think, 1 player in free agency, and that was it. And then our last pick in the draft, round 7, pick 257, we drafted Alex Forsyth, a center out of Oregon. He can flex to guard if needed. He did it at Oregon. He played center and guard. In some mock drafts, he was held as the top center in the draft. But for most of them, he was around round 5. So even with him being projected round 5, we still got him in round 7, so we didn't have to trade up for him or anything. And I'm more than okay with drafting an offensive lineman because, as you guys know, we have a lot of injuries on our offensive line.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's over with. We'll have Mike McGlinchey, Lloyd Cushenberry, Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers. So hopefully we're going to be okay this year. We definitely have a lot more depth with our offensive line, more depth on our offensive line of guys that will succeed in the NFL. Not just they're here, they're going to be on the field, but they're not going to do anything to help. Because that's what happened last year, unfortunately. And then, so that was it. That's all we drafted. And then I decided to look up how many undrafted free agents we signed. We have signed 17 free agents.
Titans have done a bunch of them too, including a kicker, a few wide receivers. They've done a little bit of everything. So
yeah, we have signed 17 undrafted free agents, and we invited 15 players to rookie camp, including 3 XFL players. So things are looking okay for the Broncos going into this season. I think I'm not, super optimistic, but I'm not worried. I guess.
So let me ask you, Jason. Obviously, you were at a bit of a disadvantage with less picks because of the Russell Wilson trade. But given what y'all were able to do, regardless of that, what would you grade y'all's draft?
I honestly the only pick that I'm just still questioning is that corner pick in round 3. Mm-hmm. Overall, though, considering we filled some of the gaps we needed, I'm gonna give us a B-.
I think that's fair.
Instead of drafting a wide receiver first, I wish we would have went with an offensive lineman, but we wound up getting a center in round 7 that has a lot of potential. So I shouldn't be too upset about it. I'm not, but yeah, I wish we would have prioritized the offensive line a little bit more, because that's definitely where we need the most help going into this next season.
I will say one thing that I left off. I meant to mention. We didn't draft him, but out of it's the International Player Pathway Program. We signed a guy out of Nigeria to play D-line, and he looks like an animal. I'm gonna try and pronounce his name. Kenneth Odom Egwu out of Nigeria. And the Broncos actually also signed a D lineman out of Nigeria, but I'm not even going to attempt to say his name.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. I was going to say we also did the same thing, and I was also not going to try and say his name.
The guy that we signed has a lot easier name to say than y'all's, but
yeah, I'm actually excited that we're getting some international players. There's more of that now.
Yeah,
there used to be.
I'm feeling good after the draft. I was a little bit worried I was going to hate our draft, but I'm feeling okay.
That's how I feel too. I feel very good about this draft, even though we didn't take the first round receiver I wanted.
I'm scared. I'll just say that. As I've said before, and I said this before, long before the draft, even, that the new GM for the Titans, has made me very nervous with some of the things he said. And he said one of the most kind of alarming things in the press conference after is somebody asked a question and was like, so why did y'all decide, and I meant to leave this is also partially why I almost wanted to give him a C-, but I just stuck with a C. They only drafted offensive players in the draft.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying something about that in Discord. That's insane.
Yeah, that's
we're not going to even give, especially because I said the big positions. There were a ton of cornerbacks. There were a ton of tight ends. They could have gotten one of those corners somewhere. I would have been fine with a little extra help on the secondary for sure. So that was another reason that it kind of hurt us. And one thing, so somebody asked me about that in the press conference, because I listen to those because I hate myself. And Rand Carthon, he was like, yeah, I actually didn't realize that until somebody mentioned it after. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't realize it? And so the thing about it is, it kind of confuses me because they were talking about it, and I don't know exactly what y'all's teams have said or if y'all even listen to any of that stuff, but Like, my understanding is that they were saying, like, in the interviews and stuff, that they were pretty much just dead set on their board. Like, they had their board of players. Whatever's at the top, if they're available, we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them. I don't think that's the best mindset. I think you should do more of a, like, split it up between different positions and stuff too, and then take the top player in that. But apparently they were so dedicated to their board, and the people, of course, asked about the wide receivers. Like, why did you wait until round 7 to get a wide receiver when you have the worst wide receiver room in the NFL? Well, according to Vrabel and Rain Carthon, they were like, if we wanted to go for one of the wide receivers earlier, we would have had to go way off of our board. And I'm like, how far? How far, though? Really? But anyway, so yeah. Sorry, I don't want to get into it. I'm gonna get mad again. But I was curious what you guys wanted to say for a little extra thing if you guys got time. Let's go through real quick and talk about who are some players that dropped that you were not expecting to drop, like big players that got drafted earlier than you were expecting, and then just like maybe a couple teams that y'all feel like really excelled in the draft, and maybe a couple that you think left a lot to be desired.
I don't know about getting drafted earlier, but I think you know who I'm going to say for getting drafted later than we thought.
Will Levis?
Yeah.
You think the Titans were going to take him at 11?
No, I thought somebody was going to take him in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that, honestly.
I don't think there was a person that thought he was going to fall to the second round.
I wonder if media played a lot into that. Like, all
Probably.
the teams are like, ooh, if we take him, we're going to piss off our own fan base. The Titans are like, we're going to do it anyway.
Just not in round 1.
Yeah, thank God they didn't do it in round 1. Like I said, if they did round 1 with Levis, I would have given them an F, because that would fucking suck. Because they would have had to give up, like, especially if they moved up, like they were talking about, to trade with the Cardinals at 3, then they would have had to give up a ton of stuff, and then that wouldn't have been good. So that's a player moving down. So you didn't have any up. What about teams, Matthew? How do you feel about, like, were there any certain teams you think just absolutely killed it?
I think that the Seahawks had a pretty solid draft in the first couple of rounds. I didn't keep up with all of it, but they had a pretty solid draft overall. Taking Devon Witherspoon in the first round, and then I'm blanking on his name in the second round.
No, they took Jackson Smith-Njigba as their second.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was thinking of no, I was right. They had Devon Witherspoon first, and then Jackson Smith-Njigba, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. That's I mean, they took the two, in my opinion, the two best skilled players in this draft in one round. So,
Jason, what about you, buddy? Players, teams, all of it.
So, a player that I am surprised dropped, or actually, I'm not even gonna say player, position. I did not expect the first pick for a wide receiver to be from the Seahawks at 20.
That was insane.
I thought Jackson Smith-Njigba was top 12 easily. But the fact that he dropped all the way to 20 and the Seahawks are able to pick him up on top of what they already have at wide receiver, the Seahawks are going to be dangerous next year. They may have Geno Smith at quarterback, but if he repeats what he did this past season with Jackson Smith-Njigba on his team as well, the Seahawks are going to win their division, I think.
And we were saying it during the draft spectacular, we were all looking at Ryan like, "Hey, fuck you, man."
Honestly.
Yeah, another name that fell a little bit further than I thought they would. Not way further, but just a little bit, was Nolan Smith.
Yeah, definitely.
He dropped to 30. I thought he'd be around 20.
Especially with how well he did in the combine.
Yeah. For a team that I think killed it in the draft, I got a couple. The Seahawks are definitely one of them, getting Devon Witherspoon and Jackson Smith-Njigba. That is insane. But personally, the team I think that won the draft is the Eagles. They got Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in the first round.
Yeah, the Georgia Beagles.
And they didn't even – I think they traded up with the Bears to go up one spot to get Jalen Carter, and that was it. They didn't even have to really trade.
Yeah, they gave up like a late round pick or something, and that was it.
Yeah.
To move up that one spot. So
I'm looking through. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, I didn't expect him to go at 12. I kind of expected him to go like mid-20s maybe.
Yeah.
Or even as late as the second round. Not really sure why the Lions picked him then. If they wanted him, why didn't they pick him with 18? Because they had 12 and 18.
It was probably somebody saying that they were going to take him, even though they weren't.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here looking at who would be in between them that would take a running back. You got the Packers, the Steelers, the Jets, the Commanders, the Patriots.
The only one I could see would be the Commanders, but
yeah, and they're in a rebuild, so they're not going to take a running back with their first pick.
No.
And they didn't. They took a corner out of Mississippi State. So, yeah, he's one that I thought went earlier than he should have. Same with Bijan Robinson. I don't know why the Falcons picked Bijan Robinson with their first pick when they need so much more.
Yeah, that one didn't really make sense to me either.
I was saying before we recorded that the Falcons should have traded back. They should have just traded down and gotten some more capital and just loaded up in the later rounds or something. Just because they're a mess right now.
Yeah, I can fully agree with that. And then obviously the biggest surprise move of the draft to me was the Texans trading up to 3 and taking Will Anderson after taking CJ Stroud. That almost won them the draft, but they gave up so much that I can't give it to them.
But did they though? Because that's the problem. Is that yes, they gave up a bunch, but they already had so much extra because of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong. You're definitely right. Yeah. But I feel like they could have traded with like maybe the Seahawks at 5 and still gotten Will Anderson possibly. And you wouldn't have had to give up as much, maybe.
It's just hard whenever somebody takes a quarterback that early because you never can tell about a quarterback being good in the NFL until they actually do something good. So it's hard to say somebody wins a draft off of picking a quarterback. It's just like obviously they did need a quarterback really bad, but you can't ever justify it until they actually succeed.
Well, and of course, a lot of these guys are busts anyway. We just won't know until they get out there. But
I got one more name that I want to throw out, and then I'll be done. The Ravens getting Zay Flowers for Lamar Jackson. That could be huge. That could be huge. We'll see how it works out. Obviously, Lamar signed his contract, so he'll be there. They'll have Odell, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers. So that there is a lot of potential in Baltimore now. We'll see if they can capitalize on it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's it for me for the draft, I think.
Well, so I'll go now. So I'll say the first thing that I was thinking of was a player going earlier than I expected, and that was, of course, Jahmyr Gibbs, as you mentioned. I was very surprised to see him go. I felt like he was going to be a second rounder. And I'll be honest, like even though I think the Lions are going to be good this year, I don't think they drafted as well as you would think they would.
They didn't. There was a lot that they left on the table that they could have taken.
And just the positions they chose when they did just seemed odd. So that's why the Lions are pretty low, but on my list of teams for the draft, but the Falcons were pretty much the lowest of them. Like I just don't think they drafted well at all.
Yeah, I didn't say who I would have last, but it was the Falcons.
Yeah, and then I'm having trouble deciding. I think I've decided I'm going to go with the Seahawks for who won the draft. For me personally, just because, as cool as it is that the Eagles went and got Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, that is the same position basically. Like they're basically overloading on that position.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Seahawks did exactly what they needed to. They got one of the best defensive players in this draft, and then they got one of the best offensive players in the draft. Getting Devon Witherspoon, he was like everyone was talking about him, especially around the combine time. Like his draft stock was going up, and he looks great. And then of course they got Jackson Smith-Njigba. I know I wanted Jackson Smith-Njigba or Zay Flowers so bad. If we weren't taking an offensive lineman, I think personally, like if I could go back, it's like our choices. I wanted either Peter Skronsky, Paris Johnson Jr., Jackson Smith-Njigba, or Zay Flowers. Those are my 4 players I really wanted. We of course got Peter Skronsky, and that's good, but I mean, obviously our biggest need was really the wide receiver room. But them getting, I mean, you look at this, and of course they have tons of picks because they robbed the Broncos. But even their later rounds, like they made some good picks, in my opinion. They got Cameron Young, the defensive tackle at Mississippi State. I think he's going to be better than people are giving him credit. Got him in round 4. The outside linebacker out of Auburn, Derek Hall, he looks pretty good too. So I think the Seahawks drafted well. And then I also think the Texans drafted well for the first few rounds. If the Texans had drafted a little bit better in the late rounds, I would have probably given it to the Texans for the best draft. Just because they shocked us all getting CJ Stroud, because a lot of people were saying they were going to pass on the quarterback. Well, of course they didn't. And that probably confused a lot of people that were in the talks to potentially move up with the Cardinals, like the Titans, because I do believe that if CJ Stroud was available, I think they would have gone for it. I think they would have moved up to 3. They would have found a way to make it happen, because CJ Stroud is that's like Vrabel's guy right there in a way. So it's not going to be fun watching the Texans or the CJ Stroud having to play against the Titans now. And then, of course, they shocked us by going all the way up, trading away their later pick in round 1 to go up to number 3 and get Will Anderson Jr. So, I'm worried about Will Anderson Jr. I feel like he got talked up a lot. I hope he doesn't end up being a bust or anything. I think he's going to be great. I do worry about his problem with like penalties and stuff. Us watching Alabama a lot, we got to see him get off sides a lot. I hope they can kind of get that straightened up, but he's a beast of a player.
So, he's going to be solid. I think he'll have a great career.
And I think he's probably going to sack Tannehill or whoever the fuck is throwing the ball for the Titans.
Will Levis.
Twice. So we got like 4 or 5 quarterbacks on our team's roster right now because they got somebody from USC undrafted. I can't remember who it was, and I'm just like, I remember I texted Tyler. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What are we doing? But anyway, so of course I also thought Will Levis dropping to the second round was pretty crazy, but at the same time, it's like once you got out of those like top 5 or 6, it's like who's going to go for him? I think it was much more likely. I thought it was going to be more likely that Anthony Richardson dropped out of the first round, but it ended up being Levis. But I guess Richardson did have a really good combines, which helped him out a lot.
Yeah, now you all have you got to face CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, and Anthony Richardson in your division.
And Trevor Lawrence already.
Yeah.
I think the AFC South is going to be a lot better this next year. Have y'all seen that? Have y'all seen that meme of like the SWAT guys about to like enter a room, like they're about to like breach, and it's like a bunch of people like dressed up in like SWAT gear, and then there's the one guy dressed up as a clown.
Yeah.
That's what the Titans are in the AFC South. Like all of these quarterbacks, and then we got Will Levis. But who knows? Like I said, I'm just gonna hope for the best, and maybe I hope I'm wrong. There's a lot of people in the Titans like fan base that have said that they'd rather just be wrong, which of course they do. I mean, why would you? like somebody was like asking a question is like, would you rather be right about Will Levis or Will Levis be good? And of course, everyone was like, I'd rather Will Levis be good and we all be wrong because obviously, if
yeah.
we're right. You get bragging rights. I told you Will Levis is going to be bad, and then we go 2-15. No, I don't want that. That would suck. I don't want to be right.
Then you draft Caleb Williams with the first overall pick next year.
Well, and then we have another quarterback on our team.
Yes.
You're just stuck in the cycle of drafting a quarterback every year.
You're going to be the next Browns.
Be the next Broncos.
Anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. You guys got anything else you want to say?
And I think I think we covered everything pretty well this week.
Yeah, so again, we had a good time. We're going to try to, assuming we can keep this podcast going for another year, we're going to try to do the Draft Spectacular again because that was really fun. That was a fun thing to do as a group. And we're probably going to try to get together and do some other things like maybe watching the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So
you heard it here first, folks. Next year's Draft Spectacular is going to be even more extraordinary than this year.
Well, I would hope so. We gotta keep it growing, you know.
We're gonna have celebrities and
no. Let's not get too.
We're gonna be able to announce the first overall pick in the next year's draft as a group.
God, that would be awesome. That would be so awesome. That would mean we'd have to go to Detroit to announce it, though. So
never mind. I don't want to go to Detroit.
Yeah. But anyway, I think we can call it right there. So thank you guys so much for listening. Again, this was the Always Out of Market NFL podcast. If you're listening to us on any of the podcast platforms, make sure to find us on YouTube. Link should be in the description for wherever you're listening to us. Make sure to subscribe and maybe watch the Draft Spectacular highlights if you haven't already. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Out of Market Pod, and make sure to keep up with us every week. We'll hopefully be back next week. All right, bye guys.
See you.
Bye.